Imagine a man who basically steps into this historical record completely out of nowhere.
Right, literally out of thin air.
Yeah, out of thin air. He permanently changes the course of ancient theology, and then he just simply vanishes.
Just poof.
Gone.
Gone. I mean, he has no recorded father, no recorded mother, and absolutely no genealogy.
Which, is wild for that specific time period.
It really is. And for, 4,000 years now, scholars have been fiercely debating his actual identity.
Yeah, it really is one of the most compelling cold cases in human history, honestly. You have this massive, echoing impact on the historical timeline, but the actual figure behind the name, it's highly disputed.
Exactly. And today we are taking a deep dive into that very mystery for you. We're talking about Melchizedek.
It's such a fascinating topic.
It is. So to figure out who this ancient figure really was, our mission today is to take a journey that starts in ancient theology and zooms all the way down into the molecular level of linguistics.
Which is the best way to do it. Absolutely. And our sources for this are just incredible. We have a transcript of this really deep analytical exchange between a linguistics researcher named Karekin and an AI.
Yeah, and together they systematically deconstruct this massive 40-minute video presentation from a channel called The Scripture Revealed.
It's a brilliant methodology, really.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, you have a researcher using modern neural networks to analyze ancient linguistic phonetic drift, all to decode a mystery from antiquity.
It perfectly bridges the absolute cutting edge of today with, the deepest roots of human language.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can decode the hidden linguistics of his name, we need to understand the landscape.
We need the context.
Exactly. Who do people actually think Melchizedek is? Karekin's notes outline 3 classic identity theories. So let's start with the first one, which is beginner-friendly, but has some pretty deep roots.
Right, the Shem hypothesis.
Yeah, the Shem hypothesis.
This theory comes straight from ancient Jewish rabbinic tradition, and it proposes that Melchizedek was actually Noah's son, Shem.
Which, I mean, if you just look at the raw timelines in the ancient text, that is technically possible, right?
Yeah, chronologically, the math actually works out.
Because the patriarchs supposedly lived for centuries, so Shem would theoretically still be alive when Abraham enters the picture in Genesis.
Right. And you can see why the ancient rabbinic view really liked the neatness of this idea.
Oh, for sure. It ties everything together.
Exactly. It connected the post-flood world directly to Abraham through Noah's son. It basically creates this unbroken chain of authority.
But wait, hold on. How does a guy who survived the global flood just casually rebrand as a priest king? Is there actual textual evidence for that?
Well, that's exactly where the theory hits a massive wall.
Okay.
The Scripture Revealed video points this out by looking at a later text, the book of Hebrews, specifically chapter 7.
Right, I remember that part of the notes.
Yeah, Hebrews explicitly states that Melchizedek has no recorded father, no mother, and no genealogy.
And why is that a deal breaker? I mean, just because it wasn't written down doesn't mean he didn't have one, right?
You have to think about why genealogies mattered so much in the ancient Near East.
Okay, why?
In those cultures, you couldn't just wake up one day and claim to be a priest. Priesthood was entirely genetic.
Oh, I see. It was a biological inheritance.
Exactly. Your genealogy was your literal license to operate. So when the author of Hebrews points out that Melchizedek has no genealogy, they aren't just, giving a fun biographical fact.
Right.
They are making a massive theological point. They're saying this guy's authority does not come from human biology.
Ah, okay. And Shem is arguably one of the most genealogically documented human beings in the entire ancient text.
Bingo! We know his father, we know his brothers, his descendants, everyone.
So if the text specifically highlights a lack of human genealogy as the primary source of his authority, it actively disqualifies Shem.
Precisely. It completely rules him out. Which brings us to the second classic theory, the angelic hypothesis.
Okay, now that feels a bit more plausible for an ancient text.
Yeah, a lot of people lean toward this one.
Because if he doesn't have human parents, well, maybe he isn't human. The idea is that he was a celestial being sent down in human form for just a specific moment.
Right, and celestial beings dropping in as travelers or messengers happens all the time in ancient literature.
It does, all over Genesis.
Yeah.
But does it hold up?
Well, again, the internal logic of the text really pushes back on it. The video source rejects the angelic hypothesis by returning to that exact same argument in Hebrews.
The same chapter.
Yep. Because the entire point the ancient author is trying to make there is that the priesthood of Christ, which is said to be in the order of Melchizedek, belongs to a category that is vastly superior to angels.
Right. So it would make absolutely no sense to build this sprawling theological argument about being superior to angels
Yeah.
by basing your foundational priestly order on an angel.
Exactly. It would completely undercut the author's own core argument.
That makes total sense.
And that process of elimination is what leads the video and Karekin's research to the third theory. This is the main conclusion.
And it's the one that strongly appeals to modern scholars, right?
Very much so. It's called the Christophany theory.
The pre-incarnate Christ. The idea that this was a temporary physical manifestation of the divine Son stepping into human history long before Bethlehem.
Yes. And what's fascinating here is how this entire theory anchors on a single, highly specific Greek word found in the text.
Oh, I love when it comes down to one word. What is it?
The word is aphomoniemos.
Phomoumenos. Okay.
Yeah, it strictly translates to made like or made into the likeness of.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Okay.
It doesn't say he was a human with a permanent biological reality. It heavily suggests a temporary manifestation.
Like putting on a costume.
Basically, he was made into the likeness of a human priest for a specific functional moment in time.
I love trying to visualize this. Like for anyone listening right now, think about the CEO of your company.
Okay, yeah.
They sit in the boardroom, right? They handle all the big global strategy.
Sure.
But imagine there's a highly specific crisis down on the actual factory floor.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Right. So the CEO takes off the tailored suit, walks down to the floor, and puts on a high-vis vest and a hard hat.
Yeah, to handle the crisis directly.
Exactly. For that afternoon, they aren't functioning as the CEO up in the tower. They are temporarily putting on a specific uniform to do a specific job. They are wearing the office of a floor manager.
That is a phenomenal analogy. I really like that.
Thanks.
And that's exactly it. The Christophany theory argues that the divine Son was essentially wearing the office of a human priest just to interact with Abraham.
Wow.
He stepped into the timeline, did the job required of that specific office, and then stepped back out.
Okay, so if you're going to temporarily put on a high-vis vest and act as a floor manager, the name tag on that uniform is going to be incredibly important.
Absolutely.
Because in the ancient world, a name wasn't just like a cute label your parents liked. It was a resume, right?
100%. Ancient names were deeply functional descriptions of a person's core nature.
It told people exactly what your function was.
Yes. And this is where Karekin's linguistic exchange with the AI strikes absolute gold.
Oh, I was blown away by this part.
They essentially decide to take the name tag Melchizedek and put it under a microscope to see what that uniform was actually supposed to do.
Right. So let's do the Semitic breakdown first. Melchizedek is a compound of two distinct roots.
Yep.
You have Melchi, which translates to my king.
Correct.
And you have Tzedek, which translates to righteousness. You put them together, and the uniform literally says, my king is righteousness, or king of righteousness.
Which, if you think about it, perfectly aligns with the Christophany theory.
Because it describes the job.
Exactly. If this is a divine manifestation, the title King of Righteousness directly relates to the specific priestly role he is performing.
He's acting as the ultimate localized bridge between divine justice and earthly sovereignty.
Yes. But Karekin didn't just stop at the basic translation. That would be too easy.
Right. He applied a methodology that is just mind-bending.
It really is.
He and the AI used a linguistic tuning fork.
That's the perfect term for it.
They took these ancient Semitic roots, struck them, and listened to see how those exact phonetic sounds and concepts resonated in an entirely different language family.
Proto-Indo-European.
Yes, Proto-Indo-European.
Or PIE for short. And for context, for anyone who might not know, PIE is the theoretical ancestral mother tongue of almost all modern European and South Asian languages.
Right, so English, Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, they all trace back to it.
Exactly. So Karekin is essentially asking, do these Semitic concepts have conceptual twins in the deep ancestral language of the rest of the world?
And here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at that first half of the name again. Malki.
Oh.
In Semitic languages, the root MLK governs everything to do with ruling, kingship, and counsel. Like Melech means king, Malku means reign.
Right, it's very straightforward political power.
But when Karekin tracks that exact MLK phonetic sound over into Proto-Indo-European, the AI notes that the PIE root melga means to stroke or to milk.
Yeah.
Like actual dairy milk.
It's quite the leap.
I have to admit, when I read that in the source notes, I was totally lost. Like, how does a linguistic root go from a sovereign king to a dairy product. That just sounds like a complete translation error.
I know. It sounds totally absurd to a modern ear.
Yeah,
But you have to put yourself in the mindset of an ancient tribal society.
Okay.
These were people surviving in incredibly harsh climates. In the ancient world, cultures intrinsically linked the act of ruling with the act of providing nourishment.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the leader wasn't just the guy sitting on a throne barking orders.
Not at all. That's a very modern, or at least a much later, concept of a king.
Right.
In ancient tribes, the ruler was literally the distributor of resources. They managed the livestock. They ensured the tribe didn't freeze or starve through the winter.
So they were the literal milk giver.
Exactly. They were the nourisher of the people. The conceptual overlap there is just beautiful. The ruler and the provider were the exact same job.
Wow. So the Semitic language tree kept the MLK sound focus on the concept of ruling, while the PIE language tree kept that exact same sound focused on the concept of nourishment.
Precisely.
That is fascinating. But wait, did PIE have a word for the actual ruling part, like the guiding aspect?
It did, yeah. If we look for the conceptual equivalent of a ruler in PIE, like the person actually doing the leading, we find the root reg.
Reg, yeah.
And reg means to move in a straight line or to guide.
And that root is literally everywhere once you know to look for it.
Oh, it's in so many words.
Karekin's notes point out that from reg, we get the Latin rex for king, we get the Sanskrit raj, we even get modern English words like regal and regulate.
Exactly. It paints such a vivid, practical picture of ancient sociology. The ideal ruler isn't just powerful. The ideal ruler is the one who guides the tribe in a straight line, distributing the nourishment that keeps them alive.
Okay, so if the MLK root tells us he is the nourisher, the one managing all the resources, how did he know how to distribute them?
That's the real question.
Right. What was the standard he used? Because, I mean, you can be a provider and still be deeply unfair. Does the second half of the name answer that?
It does, perfectly. And that brings us to the Tzedek.
The Tzedek part.
Right. The Semitic triliteral root here is Tzedek, or angelic. And it is a deeply theological root. It literally means straight, just, righteous, or true.
So it's not just a vague sense of being a nice guy.
No, not at all.
It's like an unwavering architecture of fairness.
Exactly. It's structural straightness. It's objective. And when Karekin and the AI applied the tuning fork to Tzedek, the resonance over in Proto-Indo-European was astonishing.
What did they find?
The precise PIE conceptual twin to the Semitic Ankh is the root dek.
Dek, meaning to take, to accept, or more broadly, that which is fitting, proper, and right.
Right. It's the ancient understanding of universal order. And if you trace the evolution of dek through history, it essentially shapes the very foundation of Western thought.
Really? How so?
Well, in ancient Greek, dek evolves into dike, which is their foundational word for justice and right law. It also becomes daigma, meaning a pattern or a sample.
Wait, so dek became dike in Greek, and then you're saying that same phonetic blueprint influenced other language trees too?
Oh, absolutely. It heavily influenced Latin as well. It tracks directly into decus, which gives us words related to honor, and it connects to the concept of being rectus, or structurally straight and upright.
Yeah, we have Melchi, the sovereign ruler who acts as the ultimate nourisher.
Yep.
And we have Tzedek, the absolute structurally straight pattern of what is fitting and just.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the dovetail here is just breathtaking.
It really is.
When you stack MLK and Tzedek together, you aren't just looking at a name anymore.
Nope.
You're looking at a cross-cultural linguistic formula. Melchizedek translates to the standard or ruler of what is fitting and straight.
It really acts as a cosmic tuning fork. It's harmonizing the Semitic concept of a sovereign ruler with this deep-rooted Indo-European concept of absolute structural cosmic justice.
Perfectly said.
It bridges two massive spheres of ancient human understanding.
And, this brings us right back to why the Christophany theory appeals to so many scholars.
Right, because of the scale of it.
Exactly. If Melchizedek was a pre-incarnate appearance of the divine, stepping into history to wear the office of the ultimate priest, his name couldn't just mean something local to one tribe.
No, it had to be bigger than that.
His name had to represent a universal cosmic reality. He's the provider of nourishment who guides humanity according to the absolute straight pattern of cosmic justice.
Man, it makes you look at the text of Genesis completely differently.
It really does. It opens it wide open.
In fact, Karekin's notes end on a really tantalizing idea.
Oh, the Genesis 14 part.
Yes. The researcher points out how this linguistic tuning fork unlocked massive philosophical depth in just one single name. And he proposes, imagine taking this exact same method, using an AI to map phonetic drift and PIE resonances, and applying it to all the other common character names in Genesis chapter 14.
It is such an exciting frontier for research. I mean, ancient texts are incredibly dense, and for centuries, we've only been able to look at them through one or two linguistic lenses at a time.
Right.
But by using modern computational tools to actually trace these roots across entirely different language families, we are realizing that these texts are operating on multiple conceptual levels simultaneously.
It's like finding a hidden dimension in a book you've read 100 times.
Exactly. The depth of meaning was always there, encoded right there in the syllables, just waiting for us to develop the tools to properly hear the resonance.
So what does this all mean? Why should you, listening to this right now, care about phonetic drift or Proto-Indo-European roots and a debate about a historical phantom from 4,000 years ago?
It's a fair question.
Right, because this deep dive proves that human history isn't just stored in dirt and bones and ruined cities. The history of who we are and what we actually value is hiding in the very syllables we speak every single day.
A single name like Melchizedek acts as a time capsule. It preserves an era where tribal survival depended entirely on the ruler being the ultimate nourisher, and it links that raw physical survival to the highest, most vast concepts of cosmic justice.
It shows us that ancient people were thinking about the intersection of power and morality in incredibly sophisticated ways.
Much more sophisticated than we usually give them credit for.
And that leads to a really provocative thought I want you to mull over today. Think about the archetypes of leadership we just uncovered.
The nourisher and the straight edge.
Exactly. The ancient ideal of a ruler was the one who nourished the tribe and maintained absolute structural justice. The king of righteousness, the milk giver who walks a straight line.
It is a profoundly high standard.
It really is. So think about the titles you use at work or in your community. Think about the leaders on the global stage today.
Oh, that's a tough comparison.
How far have our modern definitions of leadership drifted from that ancient PIE and Semitic ideal?
I'd say pretty far.
Yeah. If linguists from 4,000 years in the future dug up our modern corporate titles or political offices and broke them down to their phonetic roots, what hidden archetypes would they find?
That is a fascinating thought experiment.
Would they find nourishers and sustainers of cosmic justice? Or would they find something entirely different?
It really makes you wonder what kind of cultural echoes we are leaving behind in our own linguistics.
It certainly does. We started today looking for a phantom, a mysterious figure who stepped onto the historical stage and vanished.
But he didn't really vanish.
No, it turns out Melchizedek didn't vanish at all. He's been hiding in plain sight, encoded in the DNA of our language, reminding us of what true leadership was always supposed to look like.
What a profound takeaway.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the sources today. We loved unpacking this with you, and we'll catch you on the next one.